Hey guys, happy Monday to everybody. What a way to start the week. Natalie, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am melting.
A little warm?
It is in the mid 90s here in St. Louis with a heat index of probably like 212. Humidity is like 70 something percent. So we are inside and it's icky outside. It's icky outside. What's it like down in Florida?
Hot, humid, and like 3 inches from the sun.
So you're 3 inches from the sun. I'm probably about 5 inches.
Yeah, we're about there.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. I just saw online that there is a recipe out on how to bake lasagna in your mailbox.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to try it?
No.
Send it to me. I might try that. I might try that.
Get messy.
I just had, or we had lasagna last night, but I might try that.
Try it because it would be an oven.
And well, yeah. And you know, everybody goes and tries to fry an egg on the sidewalk. I got to try that too.
Yeah. How about baking cookies in your car?
You can probably do that.
Yeah.
Do that. Wonder if you need to use like the cooking spray, so non-stick spray on the sidewalk, so your eggs don't stick to the sidewalk.
I wouldn't eat the egg off the sidewalk.
Really?
Yeah, because the dog could have peed there, and you just don't know.
Yeah, people don't always wear shoes when they walk across the.
No. Yeah. Or some toe goo, and don't want to do that.
Anyway, we're off to a great start here talking about togu and bacon lasagna in your mailbox.
Welcome, everybody.
I can see when I go to do the shorts that there's going to be, baking in your mailbox is going to be a title for one of them. So baking in your mailbox and toe fungus on your sidewalk. On the next Paranormal Among Us. All right.
We aim to please.
Yeah, well, whatever. Quick announcement before we bring Spookie Dookie Paranormal up there. And by the way, I love that name, Spookie Dookie Paranormal. I think that's awesome. I want to find out where they came up with that name. That's going to be my first question. And I see them backstage laughing. So anyway, so this Monday night show started out as a sports show. So I really wasn't stepping on anybody's toes. And now that we've switched it over to a paranormal show, Danielle is on now. Tex is going to be on at 8. I wouldn't go past Tex, but I'm kind of on with Danielle right now. So next week, we are going to move to Tuesday night at the same time, 6:30, and take you right up to BMR show at 8 o'clock Central, which is 9 o'clock in the East. So next week, when Monday comes around, you're not going to miss anything. We're going to be here on Tuesday. So make sure you look for us on Tuesday starting next week. So I think that's all the announcements we had. Was I supposed to say anything else?
I think you're good.
Okay. Yeah. So let's bring up Steve and Ray he's getting a drink. Okay, here we go. Hey guys.
How you doing?
Hey,
good. How are you?
All right.
Good. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, guys. And I got to meet you guys at Emmaus about a month or so ago.
Right.
So I reached out to you and get you on the show and get to talk about what you guys do.
Appreciate it.
But first things first, where did you get the name Spookie Dookie Paranormal from? I love the name. And I'm not joking. I do. I love that name.
Yeah. It is definitely an attention getter. We like to have fun, and that's one way to do it. We were actually at Farrar Schoolhouse up in Iowa. And while we were there, they only had one working facility, which was downstairs in the gymnasium. And Farrar was kind of a weird feeling place, a weird vibe place. And downstairs in the auditorium or gym, it was a very heavy feeling down there. And of course, the bathrooms, there were no doors. You just walk in. There it is.
Very dark. Oh, I done.
Both of our wives were with us, and we just said, if any of us had to use the bathroom, this would probably be the spookiest place to go. And it wasn't. So the girls decided if they have to go to the bathroom, they're going about 15 miles out of way to go to the gas station. And we were just going to try to tough it out. But when a couple months later, we were talking about team names and somebody threw out Spookie Dookie, and it just made us laugh because we remember what it was like at Farrar. that was probably the quickest bathroom breaks we've ever done.
Oh.
So
in and out.
Yep. So that's kind of how we came up with the name. We tossed it around, and as soon as we said it, we all laughed and said, "That's it." So
that is a great way to come up with the name. I love that story. That is that's unique. That's funny. And on the background back there, you got a little poo emoji, don't you?
Okay.
Dookie. Okay. All right.
It's one of those things, you sit around the house and you come up with some ideas, and a couple drinks later, and next thing you know, you got a logo and it sticks. So
literally.
Yes, it does. Like I said, we like to have fun. We take the investigation seriously, but outside of there, we like to get to know people and have a good time. And what better way not to start a conversation than
great conversation.
Share a sticker with somebody, and they're like, "Wait a minute."
And I downloaded that sticker, and I didn't even notice I think it was on there. I didn't even notice the poo emoji on there.
Yeah. Yep. Just a little bit.
It's not often that you can talk about a poo emoji on a paranormal show.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you guys, it's a husband and wife teams, correct?
Correct.
Both of you guys. How did you all get started together?
A couple of years back, I used to work out in St. Louis County at the corrections facility, and I had a K9. And Ray worked out at U City with his K9. We wound up meeting at the K9 training events. Started talking about paranormal. One of the nights that we were actually training was at an abandoned, and I wouldn't say abandoned, but closed down church, a seminary,
monastery out in Hazelwood.
And we got to go and kind of walking through there on our own. Just they had a lot of problems with break-ins, and they kind of wanted us to walk through the tunnels and everything else and make ourselves known. And so we did that. And next thing you know, we were talking, and about a month and a half or 2 months later, we wound up going to Waverly Hills together with our wives. And I'm not going to say we've been inseparable, but we've been a lot of places together, with his work schedule and mine, and we try to make everything work that we can.
Mm-hmm. I mean, is it something that you guys have always been fascinated with? Or
yeah, from a young age, I've always been fascinated with it. We've had some weird stuff happen at our house in St. Charles when I was a kid, and it's always been something that's caught my attention. And I know Ray's kind of had the same experiences.
Yeah, I've always been kind of sensitive to it when I was younger. My mom always tells me stories about me looking over in the corner and seeing someone standing there, and obviously it freaked her out. But I'm just waving, I'm 2-3 years old, waving at this strange man in the corner or down the hallway, and my mom's grabbing the hammer going down. But I do remember, being very young and being, in my room by myself and hearing my name being called and just things like that. And then as I've gotten older, I've experienced, just a wide spectrum of paranormal stuff, and it's always intrigued me. It very rarely, scares me or anything like that. It's just so interesting.
Yeah.
And, once I, met up with Steve and we developed this partnership and started going on these investigations and stuff, we've just really developed our skills and our love for the paranormal. So.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Natalie.
I was just going to ask about your wives. Have they had the same experiences early on, and then kind of that's how you all met up?
My wife is a very supportive wife. She could take it or leave it. She goes because I go, and I think she does enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but in our group we have a very strong bond with everybody, but we don't force anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. So if one of our wives has a very bad feeling about something, it's not like we're going to force them to go anywhere. They can step out. And there's been a couple occasions where they have done that. But for the most part, my wife is very supportive. She goes along with us for the ride, and she scopes out everything, places to eat, places to go to the bathrooms.
Oh, that's good.
Very important.
That's important.
Yes.
Yeah. My wife, she was a little hesitant at first, but she had some experiences when she was a kid with the paranormal, and she's always been interested in it too. So she was more than willing to join up with us, and we've all been together ever since, and it's been
cool.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And Ray, I wanted to ask you, when you were younger, hearing your name being called in a room.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, how old were you when that happened?
Oh, gee, I mean, young. It's one of my first memories I can remember. It being very early in the morning, sun's just coming up, and hearing a voice that I didn't recognize calling my name from, outside of my bedroom. And I would wander out there and there's nothing. And then I'd go wake up my mom and she'd be like, "What are you talking about? I wasn't calling your name."
Wow.
So I didn't think anything of it, but now that I'm older and have experienced a lot of paranormal stuff, looking back, I think I just had a sensitivity to that. So
Interesting.
Wow.
What did your mom think of that? And seeing the shadow figures in the wall, or in the wall, in the room, and
at
everything?
first I think she brushed it off, probably as just being a kid, imaginary.
Yeah.
But as it continued, and from my understanding, it was pretty consistent. She also has said now over the years that I was just sensitive to that stuff, and it always freaked her out. She said she'd be terrified if we're home alone and I'm looking down the hallway waving, and she's like, "Who are you looking at?" "Oh, the man standing down in the hallway." "Oh my God."
Yeah, I can see where that would be a little unnerving.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. What was your first investigation as a team that you guys did?
That would be Waverly Hills.
Really?
Yes, we took a road trip. Wives never met before. Me and Ray we knew each other, but we were just like, heck with it. After we kind of linked up there and said, well, this is a place we wanted to go. And he said, let's just do it. Yeah. So we did. Waverly Hills was a blast.
Yeah. No better way to get to know each other than spend some time in a car and in a dark building.
Yes, exactly. Very.
So what all did you get that first time out?
We had a lot of more or less hits on the REM pods. We did catch one EVP in the death chute. We did believe that the name that we were asking for came across as Seth. We had some pretty good reactions with the dowsing rods.
Very intelligent.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually asked it to point to what direction it wanted us to leave the room, and it had pointed straight to the door. And probably about 10 seconds after that, you see a shadow go straight across the door. And
wow.
I think that was the first place we unofficially left a Spookie Dookie in that room. So that was our very first eye-opening experience. I want to say it was the second or third floor. I don't remember.
I want to say second.
Supposedly there is a demonic entity up there. And it crawls on the walls, the shapeshifter, all that type of stuff. We walked up there. I think Ray and Allie went down the hallway a little bit and came right back. And we all had that same feeling like, nah, this ain't for us. Any of the other floors there, that really no bad feelings at all.
Yeah, it was just that one section, and I believe it was on the second floor. You could just tell there was just a shift in the change and the vibes in the environment. It was very dark, and we didn't necessarily experience anything physical, but we skipped out on that part. Like, it was our first time ever doing anything. We didn't want to get too wild, but
don't blame you.
Bring something all the way back from Iowa.
Exactly. The rest of the building was so active that we got so much good evidence and experiences out of that first investigation. I think that's what sparked our team, and that's why we've continued and been so successful. So
that's pretty cool that you got something solid like that on your first time out. I mean, it doesn't always happen that way, and a lot of times it doesn't even happen.
We've been to places and had swing and misses. I mean, it's just one of those things. To me, it reminds me of fishing or deer hunting. You could be sitting there for 3-4 hours and nothing can happen.
Right.
So it's just the being able to see the history and learn the history, the architecture. A lot of these buildings is absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had an attachment that you brought back?
Not that I know of. Hopefully, no. We are very adamant when we leave there. We are very adamant about going through a whole process of, you're not welcome to follow us. You got to stay here. We do say a little prayer before we head out. But no, I've personally never had anything. I know my wife hasn't. And I don't know.
Yeah, nothing.
So
Do you ever use any sage or anything like that to cleanse?
No,
Okay.
Nope.
just Irish Spring.
And that's good to go.
There you go.
And Cottonelle.
There you go.
For
Do
the
you-
spooky dookie.
Do you guys stay away from the, you know, the heavier places, more demonic in nature?
I would say we don't stay away from them. Now I will say we do go a lot more cautiously into them.
Mhm.
I'm not a big provoker. I don't provoke at all. That's kind of the same way with all of our team. We don't go there. I don't like fighting something I can't see.
Yeah.
So clearly, you know, we go there with respect.
And they will win because
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you know, we go in there with a lot of respect. If we do have an intelligent type of communication with something, if we ask it if it wants us to leave and it tells us to leave, you know, we tell it we appreciate everything that they've done for us, time, and we head out of there. We're not going to push no buttons. Like I said, we want to get to know stories, maybe some history, get some loved ones' words out there, but not actually. We don't want to start a war that we're not going to win.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Did-
never wise.
No.
Never
I
wise.
did that one time and ended up getting scratched. So yeah, don't.
Yeah.
If they say to leave, leave.
Yes, we went to a cemetery actually while my wife and I think your wife were both out of town that week.
Yeah,
Gibson Cemetery out here in Missouri, where supposedly a vampire was buried.
Yeah.
And it was a hot night out there. It was probably like it was now.
Humid.
Horrible. It was just crappy all around night. But we were going through the cemetery. That was the last cemetery we've ever been to. But going through there, and about halfway through, I started getting a burning sensation on my right side, and just kept on investigating like nothing happened. Finally, I asked Ray. I pulled up my shirt. I said, "Hey, man, does it look like I got bit by something?" And I had 3 scratch marks going down the right side of my lower back, and so at that point, I tucked in my shirt. We grabbed our stuff and
Hightailed it out.
We hightailed it out of there. We had a quick trip on the way home, and that was about it. Ever since then, you know, cemeteries and graveyards to me are kind of a iffy place to I don't want to be unruly. We were kind of new at the time, so it was definitely an awkward situation. But
I've always understood cemeteries that, you know, the bodies that are buried there, that's not their spirits that are hanging around there. It's
right.
something more demonic than, you know, I just assume, you know, not. But yeah, you learned it the hard way there.
Yeah, I haven't been back to one since. I don't plan on going back. That's the final resting place. Adios. You know, I wish you the best, but I'm not going to be going back there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's
I wouldn't want to have that happen.
no, it scared me. It was probably about 15, 20 minutes before on the way home before I actually started talking to Ray again. And I was like, don't tell my wife.
We held that secret for a long time.
We held that secret for about a year.
Oh,
it's out there now.
It's out
yeah.
there.
Everybody knows now.
Yeah, it was
What
very
happens in a
cool.
graveyard stays in a graveyard, right?
Right.
Until you're on a podcast.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what were you doing? Just not. What were you doing when you got scratched?
Just asking
That was
questions.
the thing.
I just didn't like the answer.
There wasn't any provocation.
No.
I mean, we were just doing the normal, and we had some EMF detectors out there. We were trying to get some responses on our EVP recorders.
It was actually kind of quiet.
It was very quiet. We were just kind of, you know, listening to the nature, trying to hear if we could see or hear anything. And I just out of the nowhere, he just like, oh, something just bit me. And, you know, 5, 10, 15 minutes later, he's like, man, it still hurts. Can you check this out? And he had a jacket on. He lifted his jacket up, and 3 very distinct scratch marks back there.
Wow.
So, and yeah, the I guess it's a cemetery down in St. Francis County, Missouri. It's off the beaten path. You can't drive to it. There's a walking path you got to find. And, you know, the tale is that there's a bunch of unmarked graves there from a tuberculosis or a red fever outbreak a long time ago. And there was also, I guess, a villager back in the day that, you know, that they believed was some sort of vampire that the village ended up, executing at a trial, and they buried him with cement on his grave and an iron rod fence over his grave, and it's still out there. You can still visit.
We found it.
We found it, and
Wow.
I guess whatever was out there didn't like us out there. So
supposedly the Boy Scouts go out there once a year to clean it up, and if they don't get a merit badge for that, I think they should.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Something for it.
yeah, it's very overgrown.
Jeez.
There's a lot of vandalism that's happened over the years. It's not taken care of. They get one grass cutting a year by the Boy Scouts, and that's it. So
and and depending on what you believe, I mean, scratching doesn't always have to be horrible. Maybe it was somebody reaching out for help, but it's one of those things that I was not going to stick around, unfortunately, to try to find out what was going on at the time. I'm not going to say we're brand new at this, but we are. At the time, we were pretty much brand new, and we're still growing. But something like that will definitely catch you off guard, I think.
Yeah, I bet.
Definitely.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, has anything ever like that happened since then?
Yes and no. I have had at Missouri State Penitentiary. I have had a little bit of a scratch. I don't know. We took pictures of it. It was the same burning feeling, same side, the right side of my lower back. My wife took a picture of it, and it was not as prevalent. So could I have come up on something or scratched something, not even know it? I don't know. If it was a lot more distinct like it was at the cemetery, I would say yes. But I can't officially say, oh yeah, I got scratched again. So we can chalk that up as maybe I leaned against a cell and scratched it on a door or something like that. Or, if I don't have hard evidence to say that it was that, I'm not going to call it that.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced any kind of illness while you go into these places, like feeling sick or headaches?
Yes. Yeah. Very much so. So, I'm on the fence here, and this is hard to talk about, I guess, kind of in a way, because I don't know if I'm sensitive to this stuff or not. I do get a lot of sick feelings, especially when we do the dowsing rods. I get a lot of sick feelings, a lot of emotional feelings come with it. A lot of hair standing straight up on me, goosebumps, nausea. There have been times where we go into places and I'll just get a huge headache right off the bat. And as soon as I step outside, 2-3 minutes later, it's gone. Yep. It doesn't really deter me, but I don't know how to deal with that yet. If that is a sensitive thing. It's funny because we'll do investigations as a team, and Allie or Ray or even my wife will try to hold the dowsing rods and nothing happens. But it's just one of those things that when I do it, like it's instant. I wouldn't say instant, but we have a lot more success. And I do get those at Emmaus was a good one. We sat in the bathtub area where the nurse had passed away and drowned. And, had an excellent dowsing rod session, and we caught a couple EVPs in there too. And actually all night. Oh yeah, and all night I actually mispronounced Marie's name. I was calling her Mary, and at the end of the night. And so I asked, Marie, I said, "Do you accept my apology?" And we got the EVP of it saying yes.
Wow.
It was crazy, but during the dowsing rods, we were getting yes and no's left and right, and I finally just asked. I said, Marie, I said, "Are you making me feel the way that you felt?" I said, I feel really sick to my stomach and kind of nauseated, and they crossed like immediately.
Wow.
And then they would come back open. And we do got a couple of EVPs, not to do with that part, but from sitting in there with her, and it was a female voice.
She was very active,
right?
Very active and very intelligent.
So, and at one point, I was trying to figure out why she was doing it. And I asked if she was pregnant, and the rods actually separated even further away from each other. Like, not only was it a no, but it was a heck no. It was no. So, it was definitely an experience. But it's just, there's a couple other paranormal groups that we're trying to work with, like Patriot Paranormal and L&M. And they have a lot of people with abilities that could. I'm hoping that'll be able to help me if that's what I have. Could it just be the environment? Maybe. but it is weird that I do have these things happen.
It sounds to me like you do. Like that there's something. Okay, what do you know what your blood type is?
O negative.
There
I'm the
you go.
universal.
Yeah. That O negative is more sensitive to this, I believe. So there you go. But you know, kind of look into that too as well. Blood type, I think, has something to do with it as well. I'm pretty darn new to this as well, so I'm not 100% certain. But everything that I've heard, they talk about blood type being a huge part of that as well. I got me some dowsing rods too. I need to start using those on investigations.
And sometimes,
So,
like I said, sometimes you just get them and they just go haywire, or they don't even do anything at all.
Yeah.
So you know, it's just like I said, it's like hunting almost. It's
Yeah.
great.
So since you brought Emmaus up, and I believe this was the last time you were at Emmaus when Haunted Souls had their event out there, you had the God's helmet on. And Ray, did you have it on as well, or was it just Steve?
Nope, just Steve.
Okay. So kind of talk about your experience. What was that?
I don't know.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, we heard it. It wasn't us.
Okay. 28 minutes.
I
That was weird. Okay.
So about those abilities, no,
I don't know whose end that came from.
I don't know.
You know, that was said wrong. I don't know whose feed that came from. Anyway, I'll have to go back and check that out at 28 minutes. On the show here. So, but anyway, the God's helmet, you had a very interesting experience there. Can you kind of walk us through that a little bit, if you can?
It. I'll be honest with you. I was a very big skeptic of it. I don't see how some flashing lights and all type of stuff can make you go into what I went into. And I still have a hard time explaining it, but it was an experience of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it was horrible by any means. Would I do it again? I think if the opportunity presented itself, I would like to maybe give it one more try. But, you know, Dan and Terry Mosby and Frankie were absolutely phenomenal to have there because, you know, they were keeping a very watchful eye, I would say. My wife was very nervous about it. But anyways, you know, you get put on this helmet and you close your eyes, and the next thing you know, all these different colors and everything are kind of hitting you. And at first, I was like, okay, this isn't going to be anything. So I sat there for a few minutes, and I could hear them talking. The next thing you know, it's a really weird feeling because you know you're still sitting there, but those lights disappear, and everything. I'm not saying like you feel like you're floating, but you're not there, but you're there. And I don't know if that's a good way to explain it. And I know you said you've done it. But I'm sitting there and the first thing that I saw that kind of just started coming to me is it looked like a little pond, which didn't really mean much to me. But the next thing you know, the pond kind of started getting pixelated and faded away. And then I see myself, it was a first person view looking down a hallway. And it was just an empty hallway. The doors on my right side, some of them were closed. And as you go down further, some of them were open. Yeah. And, you know, I'm okay with that. It's cool. Doors are closed, whatever.
So I believe where we had this set up, that was in the asylum part of the building, or was that in the nurses? It was in the asylum part because they have the long hallways. No,
right. So we were not in the asylum, though. We were in
the nurses' quarters.
The nurses' quarters up on that third floor, the top floor.
Yeah, you're right.
I was sitting on an AC unit, just sitting up there, and
we didn't have any chairs at the time, so we're
right.
on an AC unit.
You make do with what you got.
Exactly.
You know, I'm looking down this hallway, and the doors closest to me are closed on the right side, and then as they go down, the doors are open. At the very last door, I see a figure pop out, all black, and it kind of leans over like it's like looking out of the door frame, and you know, it wasn't the most great feeling in the world. It definitely wasn't the most welcoming. And then I start seeing on the left side some writing come up on the walls. And so I couldn't make out what the writing said. I just remember the scribble marks. And then there was 1 or 2 doors in front of it. Another figure pops out. And then the one at the very last door goes back in. And it just stared at me. I couldn't tell out any facial features, but it was a human body. And, it was a really weird feeling. I know people were asking questions and I was trying to describe it the best that I could. And then as soon as I started describing it and getting into it, everything disappeared again. And then it was just a body came into focus and it was in a completely black room. And I couldn't figure out where it was. Dan, somebody there, I think it was Dan or Terry or even Frankie, were asking questions. Hey, ask it this, ask it this. And as soon as they started doing that, I saw a table pop up, a metal table. And so that's when they said, "Oh, are you in a surgery room?" And the figure actually turned around and looked at me, and I could tell that it had a 5 o'clock shadow or a longer beard, not a short beard, but longer, kind of like mine. And it had a doctor's coat on, and it just kind of stared at me, and I could see the eyes blinking. And I asked a question. I think, what is your name? Why are you here? What are you doing? And it just took its hands and he just looked at his hands, clear as day, just looked at his hands, kind of did it back and forth, and then just started wiping them on his coat. And that's when I got I'm getting goosebumps now.
I am too, actually.
It got a really heavy feeling. And my whole demeanor, I kind of feel like it shifted a little bit. Not as like everybody's going to die, but it was very heavy feeling. And it just kept wiping his hands. And no matter what I did, and you could see the sad in his face. It wasn't like he wanted to be there. It wasn't like he purposely did something. You could tell that there was sorrow or emotion in his face. And as soon as he started kind of messing with his jacket a little bit more, that's when Dan had actually pulled it off my head. And that was it.
So
I think
it's
to have seen it play out more, but I understand the reason why you can't have it on for so long.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you, I felt like I got sucked into something. It has you gripped.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's also important to note that a couple things that I took from this, that first of all, they're over in the asylum part of the property, there is a lot of writing on the walls. So right. I don't know if that's what you saw or if it was more like scribbly writing, but there's all kinds of writing out there. Dave from Paranormal 411 has a question here. Did you feel it was intelligent?
Yes. And the reason why was because when it made eye contact with me, I felt like it was trying to communicate with me. Like, do you feel what I feel right now? Mm-hmm. When I was in the hallway, it was just more of an unsettling feeling, like, hey, somebody's watching me, and that to me, okay, I get that. They're probably maybe seeing who's out there. What am I about? Why am I here? But the doctor or medical professional, whoever was in that room with me, that was, in my way of thinking, he's reaching out to me saying, hey, whatever happened, I didn't want to happen.
Right.
It was very emotional.
And there is on the bottom floor of the asylum building, there was, I believe, a room where they had performed surgeries. So there was an actual metal table there, and there still is there. So, I mean, it could have been a doctor that, performed a surgery and it went bad. And,
right.
Maybe that's them showing you what they did or something like that.
And Dan said it best with Haunted Souls. He's just said, hey, it pulled you in and it left you wanting more. And I said, absolutely. Because I wanted to see how it played out. But, there's a time limit on it for a reason. And I could see why.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy stuff. And, I'm like you. I don't know that I want to do that again. My experience was absolutely wonderful. So I don't know that I want to, I want to go out on top.
Right.
Here is Terry, whose God's helmet it was. I have come to the conclusion that the God's helmet skips you over to a different plane. You are not in the same place you left.
I could agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And Terry's a veteran of that God's helmet. She's
Yes.
Every time I've seen her on a location, I think she's had the God's helmet with her. So.
And Terry, I didn't get a chance to that night, and I apologize. I wanted to thank you for that experience. It got crazy that night. I think everybody was just kind of going everywhere, and I forgot to get around to you, so I do apologize for that.
Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot had a question here. How long after the experience did the energy stay with you, and did you feel the grief?
I would say it was 5 minutes afterwards. I started feeling like myself again. We stayed up there for about another half an hour. Did some investigating up there, and I felt fine. The rest of the night, I felt a little bit more puzzled than when I came there, for sure. And the whole way home, I think me and my wife talked about it. It was an experience for sure. It left me puzzled.
Yeah.
So.
Would you ever try it, Ray?
Yeah, I would try it if it were in the right, circumstances and if we were in a place where the vibes were good, and I would give it a shot for sure.
Yeah, it is very interesting to do that, and Terry knows all about that stuff, and she's just great to have around. Yeah. Exactly, Terry. It leaves you pondering, what the hell? Yeah, I almost said it. I don't want to say it.
She hit the nail on the head.
Exactly. So, do you guys mostly stay around Missouri, or do you guys? Well, you did Iowa.
A fun fact about Iowa: don't speed in Iowa.
Don't speed in Iowa.
Don't speed in Iowa. No.
Yeah, troopers got them.
Uh-oh.
I will tell you, they're smart. They are smart because it looks like an old cattle beater truck, and when you get up on it, it said sheriff.
Uh-oh.
They got me.
Yeah.
Whoopsies.
I mean, you could always say, I'm getting away from ghosts. I mean, trying to get away from the
guy was super cool. And that's actually right after I left the county, and I was talking to him, and he was super nice. And I admitted to him, I said, I was going as fast as I was going. I can't hide it. But and you look in the rearview mirror and you look at the old Dodge Ram, and it looks like the push bar has pushed probably a couple thousand cows in its career, and it's all rusted out. And you wouldn't have thought it was a police vehicle. I'll give them that. So they got you by the element of surprise.
Yeah. I'm just guessing you might be related to Natalie here. Sorry.
Stick together.
Oh, that was funny.
She's got jokes. Yeah. Hey, she didn't want to drive, so.
Well, there you go. And you wanted to get home quick.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Makes sense to me.
I think this year we're sticking mainly in Missouri. Next year we're definitely looking at branching out a little bit more. Like I said, we've done Waverly, we've done Farrar, but this year I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Whoops, sorry.
I think this year we're going to kind of wrap up here in Missouri. We're working on a place out here locally that's really never been investigated before. It is in the Kimswick area, and I'll just leave it at that until we get full disclosure from them. I know Ray's going back to Morse Mill. We went to Morse Mill, and that was probably the darkest place or the heaviest feeling that we've ever had.
By far.
Morse Mill.
Oh my goodness.
Heck, we walked in the door and set our gear down, and we heard a female upstairs on the second floor, and Ray and I and his buddy went upstairs, and nobody was up there. We heard a full female sentence. Like it started off the whole night.
Wow. And that's why you were setting up.
Right. We literally just walked in the door.
Yep.
Wow.
So
right off the bat there, that's a good sign.
So it was a very good night there.
Yeah.
And that's where we met. If anybody follows our page, that's where we met Paul. Paul gave us a little frightening. That was the first time I think all of us as a team was literally scared out of our minds. Caught us off guard. Yeah. I had a incident with the voice box. And I was never a believer until I had that first incident. And then now this one with Paul just really solidified that. And he came through and we asked what his name was, and clear as day. Then as soon as he said that, all the cat balls went off in succession. one right after another.
Wow.
And a shadow completely went across the door.
Which 4 of us saw at the same time.
6 of us were there.
Yeah, 6 of us were there. 4 of us saw the shadow at the same time.
Yeah,
and we all froze in fear, and we're like, "Did everybody just see that?"
Wow.
Wow.
And where was this at? Where is that at?
Morse Mill, right here in Hillsboro, actually.
Really?
Yeah, extremely active. Probably the most active place we've ever been.
Really?
Disembodied voice. I mean, you name it, we got it.
Dang. And you guys were just at Missouri State Penitentiary with Haunted Soulz, right?
Yes. Ray had to work that weekend, so it was just me and my wife. My parents actually joined us on that one. They were kind of interested to see what we do and how we do it. And Haunted Soulz ran an absolute awesome event there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah, I support the heck out of them. They're awesome.
And
they're very supportive, and we can rely on them a lot for questions. But we were there. We actually did a lot of time in death row. We got a very good EVP there. Had another very good dowsing rod session there. The gentleman, I'll say gentleman, the gentleman that actually killed my mom's brother back in the early 80s at a gas station robbery in St. Louis was on death row there for, I believe, 17 years before he was moved to Potosi in 2001 and put to death. And
wait a second. You have a connection for the Missouri State Penitentiary that someone that killed your mother was there.
Someone killed my mom's brother.
Oh, mom's brother. Okay.
Yes. So we had actually had some good dowsing rod action with whatever we were talking to there. Mm-hmm. I asked if it was the person that did it. His name was Stephen Johns. I asked if that was him, and it said yes. But the problem is I can't be 100% sure because we don't know who we are. It could be somebody impersonating him. But we do got a crystal clear EVP, and I asked, Mr. Johns, do you know who I am? And literally a second after that, you hear no.
Wow.
And so we asked a lot of questions that day or that night, and it helped my mom out a lot. So we're going back in actually September with not Haunted Soulz, but with Patriot Paranormal and doing a private there with them. So I think we're going to go back there and spend a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That, I'm kind of interested in how your mom felt with that.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
After that, actually, she was done for the entire night. It took a lot out of her.
Uh-huh.
I think it was more for closure, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think she got what she needed out of it, and
mm-hmm.
I was happy to be able to do that with her. But again, when we were doing the dowsing rods, I had the hair would stand up on me, the goosebumps, the sick feeling in my stomach. My legs felt really restless. And then as soon as we closed it up, because with all the people there, you don't want to hog one area for too long.
Mm-hmm.
So, we ended that session with it and kind of moved on. And as soon as I stepped out of that cell and we walked away, I felt like nothing ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
So,
if anybody's interested, September 27th, Haunted Soulz Paranormal is going to have another event down in Missouri State Penitentiary. I'm hoping that I will be able to go to that. I wasn't able to go to this last one. So, September 27th, go to Haunted Soulz, and they will have a link to get tickets for that. So
if you get the opportunity, definitely go. They have it's definitely something for every group level that you have, from beginning to expert. They run you through different philosophies, different ways to do things, and I think the biggest thing with our group is you always got to have an open mind, because it's just like the world, it constantly changes, right? So there's different philosophies, different techniques, different equipment to use in paranormal. And I think the second that you start shutting that stuff out is the second that you lose, everything that you've gained, really.
Yeah. What are some of the equipment that you use besides the dowsing rods that you find
Cat
that
balls,
is cat balls?
Cat balls, bells, EVP, REM pods. We got a thermal imaging camera.
Oh, wow.
We got, of course, our regular cameras, and IR cameras, the full spectrum, a little bit of everything. Mag light. We've had some good success with that and some not so good. Yeah. So the mag light, we actually had intelligent responses out at Arcadia Academy in the priest house of the basement. Haunted Soulz actually used that video to help sell out their tickets for that night, which was absolutely awesome. We were there with Patriot Paranormal on the was Pro Night?
Yep, Pro Night there.
Mm-hmm. And that was the second time there, which if you haven't been to Arcadia, get the chance.
That's
to
a cool place.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, it is the first place we went to where, well, we stayed the night there, of course, the very first time we went at the priest house itself. No issue sleeping, no uncomfortable feelings. It was a very welcoming vibe there.
Really throughout the entire
right.
facility. I mean, it was very, sometimes you walk into a place and you just feel, like you're being watched and unwelcomed. And we didn't really get that anywhere on Arcadia. It was very, like, you could tell there's a presence there, but it's not negative in any way that we felt.
We got a very good EVP upstairs in the priest house. We asked for a name. Then we asked, if are you a preacher? Then the next thing you know, we actually got a name response, and it was Fletcher. We wound up looking up the name Fletcher here in Missouri, and he's actually from Crystal City area, right down here. And he actually led a regiment of soldiers down there at the Battle of Pilot Knob, which was coincidence or not, but clear as day, Fletcher. But the mag light downstairs was absolutely phenomenal. We would get intelligent responses that would actually turn off and on the mag light for us. You could actually see the mag light rocking when it was trying to use the energy to turn it on.
Wow.
It was the first time we ever used it, and we haven't had that. We haven't had that level of an experience since then.
No, we were with Patriot Paranormal. And, we also had Ovilus device kind of working with the mag light, and we were getting intelligent responses at the same time that we were getting intelligent reactions from the mag light. It was a great evidence. We have, I believe, Patriot Paranormal has it all on their website, the video from that session. It's great.
We got a little tidbit. They got the entire thing. So when it comes to video editing, what you guys see online takes me about 16 hours to do at home. So I just found out CapCut. So, that's a huge thing for me right now.
There you go. Now, do you guys have a YouTube or a Facebook page?
We do have a Facebook page, Spookie Dookie Paranormal.
I dropped the link in there, and an Instagram page.
Yes. Instagram. I started it. I don't know how to do Instagram. I know Facebook. So you can follow Instagram. You're not going to find anything on there. Maybe hey, welcome to our page, and that's it. But Facebook is definitely our go-to. Eventually, I would like to get into going YouTube, but that's going to be maybe next year when I can actually sit down and kind of start figuring that stuff out as well. So baby steps for us.
There you go. I'm putting your link up again.
It's forward progression.
It is.
Just jump in and learn.
I'll be honest with you. When we started this Facebook page, it was just kind of to share our experiences, what we've caught. Today, I think we surpassed 600 followers, which surprises the heck out of us.
That's awesome.
We're very grateful for everybody that does follow us. So if you do, we appreciate the heck out of you guys, because we wouldn't be doing what we get to do today without everybody's support. So kind of makes us feel a little bit more validated that we're not the only goofy people out there that like this.
You're among friends here.
Right.
Here's their Facebook page. Make sure you go over there and check that out. Some awesome pictures in there. What is your, I don't want to say single best piece of evidence that you caught, but what's one of your best pieces of evidence that people can find on Facebook?
I would say for me, it's going to be the mag light at Arcadia. We had an experience at Lovejoy Cemetery that was captured, I think, on audio, but not video camera at the time. We didn't have all the stuff that we do now. That was the best thing caught on audio. Eventually, I might release that. It was really personal to me. I served in the Marine Corps with a friend of mine who seen a lot of things and lost his battle with PTSD. Mm-hmm. And what connection I had there at Lovejoy with him, I don't know what brought him there. That's where we used the spirit box many of times throughout the cemetery. Everywhere we went, it was weird. We would turn it on. Oh, thank you, Gary.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for your service.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Everywhere we went throughout the cemetery, we would use the spirit box. We were new with it. We wanted to see what it would do. And everywhere we went, you would hear Steve, and it would just get more and more pronounced. It would yell. It would, we actually got to a plot, and it was just like, we were all joking about it. We were like, freaking either Steve is following us or somebody's trying to yell for my name.
And it was the same voice.
Yes.
No matter where we were at in the cemetery. And the cemetery is huge.
Yeah.
And it was the same voice coming through every time.
Right. And so we finally went to one more place, and we sat down, and we're like, all right, let's just start asking the questions. So Ray went ahead and put on some headphones and stepped about 15, 20 feet away with his wife. And me and my wife were just sitting there. And he would turn it on, and about 10 or 15 seconds into it, you would hear my name, and he would yell it out. And of course, if there was anybody around the cemetery, they probably heard him with his headphones on yelling. So the element of surprise is gone for us. So he was asking questions, and I asked, I said, do I know who this person is? And he responds, he said, yes. And at that point, it kind of started getting a little real. And I asked, are you a family member? And it said no. And I said, did I serve with you? And it said yes. And so I said, is this Chris? And he said, Big Buddy. And that's what he used to call me. I'm a big guy. And
whoa.
And
wow.
So he said it. I'm not gonna lie, I lost my cool. I broke down, and this is like one of the first times we've actually ever went like just a quick like little investigation, like the second time we ever investigated. So of course they're looking at me probably like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And so I started to ask, and I said, are you okay? And he replied, and whatever that was replied back, I'm happy. And and I get emotional now, but it the whole way home, I didn't know how to feel about it. It took me a couple of weeks to finally realize that I should feel okay about the interaction that we had. It was a whole interaction, and I would ask questions, things that he would know that it would respond back, and Ray would answer the questions. Afterwards, we had to explain to Ray what had happened because they didn't know the story about my friend Chris. And Castle Rock, thank you, buddy. And it was we had to explain to them why I was crying. You see a grown man whimpering over there, and we went through a lot together, and and to hear that and to know it responded to questions that only he would know, just really made me feel a little bit of ease, and I do believe that some of these places that we go, we do get some responses and some things that happen that we have to laugh off a little bit, because we do think that if Chris is following us, then I think it's just him kind of playing games with us, that's what he did. I mean, he was a smart aleck. I think that's why we bonded so well. But the best piece, I think, as far as our Facebook page, I would have to say would be the Maglite for me at Arcadia.
Wow.
The Maglite for sure, but also the EVP from Crazy Town.
Yes.
Missouri State Pen. Steve got on recording. I don't think you were asking any specific questions necessarily.
No. We had what was it? The laugh and the growl.
The growl and the laugh, but then
up in the women's dorm, we caught a EVP of. It says that we're asking questions, and it says they're watching me, and then right after that, you hear another female voice say they're watching us. And that one we actually have posted, which was really cool. But yeah, Missouri State Pen never lets you down. Even when you don't think, hey, nothing's happened all night, you always get an EVP or an experience there that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. I personally have never seen a shadow there. Ray has, but
the first apparition I ever saw was at Missouri State Penitentiary.
So it's, I mean, I think everywhere you go is going to have a unique experience, whether you catch something or not. And like I said, that's just the nature of the beast. I think you can go places and enjoy the history and the stories of the place, but sometimes you just don't catch anything.
And it's very interesting that you said that one of the first EVPs that you got was that they're watching. That was the first EVP that I got when I went to my first location, that we were in a boiler room and we got a voice that was saying, "We're watching."
Yes.
And it was really freaking creepy.
Well, it was funny because we were actually driving home and I had the headphones on. I was listening to it. My wife was sleeping and I heard that and I woke her up and I had to show her right then and there. And she was like, "Okay, I'm awake now." So she was awake the whole rest of the ride home, but it was like our first big find, and I felt like a kid in a candy store. I was like, "Ah!"
Well,
so,
yeah.
The next morning, listen to this.
Are there any places that are on your bucket list that you just have to go to that you haven't been to?
There's always going to be places. I would love to get down to the Myrtle Plantation, McIntyre Villa. I'd love to get to Ashmore Estates, which I know.
That's where I had my experience. Yep.
Yeah, Soulz is going to be going there in November. I think we're going to try to go to that. I'll be honest with you, as long as it's somewhere that has a really unique history, that's going to be a bucket list for us.
Yeah.
I like to go find stories about the place, and if something communicates with us, find out the story of whoever it is. I think that's probably the most rewarding to me. And I don't know about Ray as far as bucket lists, but really anywhere that allows us to go there, I'd love. Yep.
Ray, bucket list, where do you want to go?
Gettysburg. I would love to go out.
Oh,
that's my number there. One day it's going to happen, but
I wouldn't mind going to St. Augustine Lighthouse either.
And the jailhouse there too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. That's a hot spot.
There we go.
It's about an hour and a half from me.
Ooh. Terry Mosby helps Robin Terry, who owns Ashmore Estates. She helps out there quite a bit. That's actually where I first met Terry. So,
nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty cool place. And I think anytime that you have like it was a poor farm, there's a lot of history there and a lot of things that are still around.
Right.
That you can find. So I think that's a great place to go as well. What are your thoughts on the cryptid side of things? I wanted to ask that.
So I am 50-50 on it. So there is, I mean, we all know there's parts of the world, the ocean, like stuff that's never been explored before. I am 100% on board with, I do think that there is life organisms or life out there that we've never personally seen and maybe never will see in our entire lives. I clearly think we share this planet and with other life forms as well. I just don't know anything about them. I mean, I will say once I have gotten into the paranormal though, and we've really kind of started expanding, that has really caught my attention a little bit more. So I'm definitely open to it. I would just have to do a little bit of research on it. And, a lot of people say they got to have an experience, and that would be, if I had an experience, I'd probably be hooked. And now my wife would be going freaking Bigfoot hunting with me somewhere, and she'd be happy, full of ticks. And,
well, I'll be in Missouri in September, so we'll go.
All right. I'm down for it. I 100% am on board.
Dog man. Let's do it.
She's the Bigfoot girl.
Probably either way. So,
well, I mean, even at Emmaus, there is, Krista had that howl that she couldn't figure out what it was. So, I mean, there could be something there. I mean, you never know.
It wouldn't, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's so much of these national forests and all that stuff that have never been touched before.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I personally, I think you got to be a little crazy to not think that there's something else out there besides just us.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that point that way. But I have never really taken the time to get into it. But like I said, as I've gotten into the paranormal, it's definitely opened my eyes up to a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's on my bucket list too, to get out and go squatching. So,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what to do. You
Just walk around the woods.
You have to
Ones I
just
do.
go out in the woods in the middle of the night and just kind of observe.
There you go.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of the same with ghost hunting. I mean,
Mhm.
Right.
it's in the middle of a
Yeah.
dark room and just kind of observed. And, yeah. Yeah. But where are you guys planning on going next?
So we're going to be off the rest of this month, and then we're going heading out to Emmaus for the 2 days in July.
Mhm.
We'll be out there July 11th and 12th. And then we're hoping in August to have that place out here in Jefferson County. That until we get permission, that'll be unnamed. And then in September, we're heading back out to Missouri State Penitentiary.
Nice.
For a private out there.
Nice.
So if I can swing it, I think we're going to try to go to Ashmore in November with Haunted Soulz. And there's a couple other little places that we're working on here locally.
Okay, we got a question here for you. Being in the paranormal, how much do you think the cryptid is really spirits or others in the paranormal?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I don't know. No. I think the paranormal is the unexplained, right? So to me, cryptids are part of paranormal. It's just part of the unexplained. That's how I feel about it. You know, but paranormal to me doesn't necessarily mean hauntings or ghosts. It just means that it's the unexplained. And to me, cryptids are 100% unexplained.
Mhm.
You know, until we get solid evidence. And, you know, there's theorists out there that say that, you know, the paranormal is or ghosts don't even exist and it's just hallucinations and things like that. Yeah, I mean, heck, you could probably show a full body apparition waving at you and they're going to say, oh, no, you're hallucinating. Yeah, I think, you know, it depends on what you're open to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bigfoot. You know, exactly. I saw Bigfoot. No, you didn't. I'm pretty sure I did. I know what I saw.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, yeah, I think they're connected for sure.
Yeah, it's all intertwined.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. You know, although I'm on the fence, you know, spiritual or flesh and blood, you know,
Right.
until I guess until I see one with my own eyes. Yeah.
I think it's a biological creature that has amazing abilities,
Mm-hmm.
great camouflage abilities.
Yeah. And, you know, yeah, no one's wrong. I mean,
No,
no
we
one
just
really
don't know.
knows. I mean, yeah, I mean,
Right.
so, yeah. So, you know, yeah.
Well, if we see one, I'll let it go. I just want to sit down and talk for a little while.
Right?
Yeah.
Can I get a hair sample?
Right. Roast just sit there.
Maybe a blood sample?
Right.
Just
High five, dude.
Yeah.
High five. Except it's all right, guys. Well, you know, I really do appreciate you guys coming on. It's been really, really fun talking with you guys. And again, I love the name Spookie Dookie.
Thank you.
I do too.
Well,
Can't
we
beat it.
appreciate you guys for the invite. You know, this is our first one. So,
Awesome.
yeah, we had an absolute blast. You know, a little bit worried getting into it and then having a lot
You're
of
good.
we appreciate the hospitality.
Oh,
Yes.
no problem. No
You guys
problem.
did
Love having
great.
you on.
Thank you.
And I have to share this. I always, reconfirm with guests like a couple days before. And I texted you, and we're still good for Monday night. And you said, if you're willing to have me, I'm like, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So yeah, but this was fun. You got your first one under your belt.
Yeah.
So, and
Well, we definitely appreciate it.
yeah, no problem. And hopefully I'll get to see you at some haunted location here pretty soon sometime, and we can get you under that God's helmet again. Maybe Ray can do it.
Yeah. Let's get ready to do it. I have to get permission from my wife.
Oh,
So,
if I ever get the chance, I'm going to do it.
well, I mean, if somebody would distract her for about 20 minutes, that'd be fine too. So,
she might want to be with you though. I mean,
she did say afterwards, because we were, Terry, I think, was actually broadcasting it live, and she was very adamant that Dan was very protective about it. You know, he was inching closer, because when my demeanor started changing, my wife picked up on that. And she said Dan kind of started edging his way a little bit closer. And, you know, that's what they said. You got to be careful with that, because you don't want to get sunk too far and have the experience.
And, you know, there's a reason why you only go in there for 15 minutes or so, that, you know, you don't want to, I mean, it'll mess you up inside. Right. And I remember seeing Dan, like you said, Dan and Frankie were kind of monitoring you, and they had the timer going, so they weren't going to let you go much longer.
I was going to say, I think as soon as she said 10 minutes, Dan was already coming over and done. So no, that's one thing about Haunted Souls. You know, they're there to work with you. They're absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Being part of the group, I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, well, there you go then. Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys again for taking the time out of your Monday night, and I hope the rest of your week goes fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much.
And you guys stay kind of cool down there.
Well, we're in the basement for a reason.
Yeah. So just to give you guys some kind of reference as where we're talking about, I live in South St. Louis County. They live in Jefferson County, which is just down the road from me a little bit. They were talking about Hazelwood. That is up north by the airport. U-City, that's in West County. St. Charles is in West County. I think you said Francis County, that's down south by you guys. So, a little bit, but we're all we should have just, you know, gotten one location here. But all right, guys. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure that in about 22 minutes, head on over to Texas Front Porch to see Tex. And Brandy, I'm not sure who they have on tonight, but it'll be a great show nonetheless. So everybody have a great night. We will see you Saturday. I have Sir Brian Bowden coming on, so that'll be very interesting, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. So hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Stay safe, and see you guys.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.